Okay, good evening, councillors, and good evening, Kath. Welcome members of the public to the planning committee meeting on this day, Tuesday, the 10th of January. Hello, Councillor Hillier. Let's get started with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. Do we have any?
And apologies to the councillors Ken Arlett, Tom Buckley and Ian Clark. And
I'm substituting for Ian Clark, who's in hospital. We wish him speedy.
Oh, we wish him well. Okay, item number 2, which is declarations of interest. Do we have any this evening? No, I see none. So let's go on to item 3, which is minutes of the last meeting, which was held on the 13th of December. I have a proposer for acceptance, Councillor Plant, seconded by Councillor Gavchak. All those in favour? Thank you, that's carried. And item 4 is public participation. Do we have anyone in the public gallery this evening who would like to speak? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, so councillors, please turn to page 11 for item number 5, which is plans amended.
Might change the count as much as they can. I think we'll lose
Okay, councillors, sorry for that, I was referring about something. Okay, so the first item is P22 S3105. It's a full application for 6 Duke Street. Do I have any proposals? Yes, Councillor Gavchak.
I'm a bit torn on this one, but I'm going to recommend refusal on the same grounds that we had before. Overdevelopment and holding restriction from the conservation officer. Information, so I'm going to stick with that. Although, having said that, I'll just expand a bit. We have another planning application for where we were minded to actually modify our recommendation. I think this is slightly different. I would be minded by the conservation officer's opinion. So anyway, straightforward. I propose that we reiterate our refusal. Thank you.
Is that seconded? Councillor Plant, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Yes, Councillor Brooke.
also on the thing about flats, the other day, it's relevant to this because the other day I caught this man who was putting some household rubbish in the bins opposite the Burning Man car. He just moved into his flat in Duke Street, but he had absolutely no bin storage whatsoever. So he was shoving on, and he's not going to do it again, but he wasn't aware. But he's got absolutely no bin storage, and this is a problem with flats in the town. They have nowhere to put their rubbish. They don't know when the actual rubbish collections are, so they're just going out there.
With something like that, is there any way that we can direct them to?
Well, I did tell him he could phone the council up and get a food caddy and
because it doesn't sound to me like that situation should actually be happening, because every single resident that pays council tax in Henley will have their bins collected in some form.
I did tell him, but like he wouldn't do it again, said, but I did explain to him, but that's the second person I've had to explain to.
But we always make sure, as a planning committee, that we make sure that the bin storage and collection day is always put in place by SODC. So we've got a couple of hands up, Councillor Hillier and then Councillor Gavchak.
Yeah, they just have to apply to get the bin bags, and they put the bin bags on the street. They won't get bins if there's no place to store them, but the flats get bags, same as I do. I'm in a flat above a shop. And you just put the bags outside. An SODC website gives it very clearly what colour bag is on what date, and so we shouldn't have a problem.
So you, first of all above, have to store it
You
Or do
put it
they-
on the street, when you can't do anything else, but you put it out on the street on the day it's being collected. At the time it's due, it's usually the night before, because they come round very early in the next morning. But that's all that you can do, you can't do anything else.
Okay, councillor Gamshak?
Well, there might be a broader point on these stories, but I refer page 11, the comment in brackets, as amended by plan to demonstrate cycle and bin storage.
Yeah,
So this particular planning application has been through the boxes.
yeah.
So just to clarify that.
Okay, so we've got a proposal, and it's been seconded. All those in favour of reiterating refusal? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, let's move on to item 6 on the agenda. If you turn to page 13 of your agenda. I'll take the first two together. We've got P22 S4122 householder and P22 S4124 listed building consent. And it's for Queen Anne Cottage, 45 Friday Street. Councillor Crook. Approval. Thank you. Seconded, councillor Plants. Would any other councillor like to speak? No? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P22 S4236 householder application, and it's 123 Reading Road. Councillor Gamshak.
Go with acceptance, we like the timber. So, yeah.
Okay, so that's seconded, councillor Plant. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. And next is P22 S4284. It's a householder application for 37 St Mark's Road. Councillor Plant. Seconded by councillor Gamshak. Would any other councillor like to speak? No, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. Next is P22 S4353, it's a full application and it's for Unit 6 Gardiner Place. Who would like to start on this one? Perhaps we should have a little debate about it, maybe. Councillor Palmer, what's your view?
I think it was great that they came to talk to us a
Yeah.
month or so ago, maybe just before Christmas, presented what they were doing, answered a lot of our questions. The hours they're proposing aren't going to be particularly long, from memory, it was only something like Thursday through Sunday anyway, so I'm all for it, so no reason against it.
So that's seconded.
I'll second it.
Yeah, thank you. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, just very quickly
Yes.
about them on the agenda. I mean, my lesson isn't very good. What is the phrase in parentheses next to drinking establishment?
Tuition allowance.
So what does that actually mean? That actually just sounds thick.
It doesn't fit any class sort of thing, it's freedom of classification.
Okay, fair enough, okay.
Okay. Would any other councillor like to? Yes, councillor Cleary.
I mentioned to them that, to advise their customers to use the toilet before they leave, because that area is notorious for people.
I have to
using-
say,
because the toilets
I've
are locked.
never noticed that.
I haven't.
I've never noticed that as a problem.
It smells at urine because because the toilets are locked. When people are leaving the pubs, they want to leave and they're walking home, so they go in that alleyway because it's quiet.
I don't know, I've just
And it
never.
smells of urine.
Anyway, it's not,
Yeah.
we have to stick to the material planning considerations, as councillor Gamshak has said. Councillor Hamilton.
It's a small unit and this is great that the bar's going in there, which support business, so it's important.
Yeah.
And I don't get a problem with that. And if you want to go to you go to the far end of the car park, so.
Okay, right, let's go for, I think it's lovely to see small independent business. I really support them. Yeah, he was really fantastic entrepreneur, wasn't he? Yeah, councillor Gamshak, you wanted to say
I just
something?
thought maybe they should call it Swede, everybody on the planet. So I must go and find out what those are.
Yeah.
Excuse my Latin, not up to scratch.
It's a fair question.
Okay.
Tulips, yeah.
All those in favour of approval? Okay, thank you, that's unanimous.
Then they just want.
Good luck to them. Okay, next, I'll take the next two together. We've got P22 S4392, it's a householder application for Merton House, 65 Bell Street. And P22 S4394, listed building consent for the same property. Councillor Gavashak.
I propose acceptance of this. I think it's a good design and it's good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Plant seconded. Yeah, okay. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Hillier?
I think just in deference to conservation officers, as long as conservation officers.
Would you have?
Save us from saying.
Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? Those in favour of approving subject to the conservation officer. Thank you, that's carried. And the next one is P22 S4405. It's a householder application for 73 Harpston Road. Councillor Gavashak.
I propose acceptance of this. What it is, it's a standard that we have begun to allow. That first floor is only half the width of the terrace. So it doesn't come the whole top. So therefore, it's perfectly reasonable in my opinion. Thanks. So propose acceptance, please.
Okay, so that's seconded. Councillor Romans, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Okay, thank you, that's carried. And this one and the one just over the page are again the same properties. I'll take them together. It's P22 S4429 household application. And just over the page, P22 S4430 listed building consent for 6 Gravel Hill. Councillor Plant.
Reading Mr. Hunter or number 4's concerns, there are more building regs, so they'll all be checked as part of it, part of all agreements and soil vent pipes, etc. So I've got no objections to it as long as subject to conservation of it. Happy days.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Gavashak. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Crook.
As the Henley Society says, I reiterate what they say about the damp problems to the neighbouring properties. So they need a breathable membrane to damp proof it.
Well, the conservation officer will be checking this over, remember? Yeah. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, yes, councillor Plant.
Any site comes great, but we can't enforce the tanking of an entire hill. So it's one of those where lots of houses already on it have a tank individually to protect their own basements. Short of having a French system, or we can command and pay for it into it's sadly not possible.
Okay, well, we've got a proposal that's been seconded. All those in favour of approval subject to the conservation officer. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is P22 S4433. It's a household application for 7 Highlands Lane. Councillor Gavashak.
I'll propose acceptance of this. With one of the property that's done exactly this. It's perfectly acceptable in my opinion.
No, thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Clark, thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. The next is P22 S4500, so this building consent for Old Ship House Wharf Lane. Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, this is a very old building in Henley and it's Wolf Lane and they're doing it particularly well. They're exposing the timbers and they're doing it properly. And subject to the conservation officer, so to use the same old line, I propose acceptance.
Yeah, no, I agree. Is that seconded?
Yeah.
Councillor Crook? Yeah. Okay, would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval subject to the conservation officer, thank you, that's carried. And the last one is P22 S4516. It's a householder application for 22 Western Avenue. Councillor Plant. Okay, seconded by Councillor Gavashak. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? Okay, all those in favour of approval? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 7, which is objections, calling applications. Do we have any this evening? No, I see none, so let's go to page 15, which is 8 decision notices, just to note all of the decisions that have come through from the planning authority. Did you notice, councillors, that, we'll get to the right page. We had queried the N5D. Do you remember, do you see that on page 18? And it's been refused.
Not that.
So this is where they were applied for change of use to put part of this conservation area, change the class partly into retail. And we still haven't quite got to the bottom of how they can do one of these N5Ds. We're still working on that. But when we have a conservation area, even though the government have relaxed the movement between the classes in the planning system, where it's a conservation area, the council does get a say on whether it goes to residential. This is why I'm still confused about the N5D, which we are still working on. Yes,
They've already
councillor
started
Cook.
converting them. They'd already started putting kitchen units in.
Really?
Yeah, they were in there about the week before Christmas doing it.
Right, well, we need to get planning enforcement onto that then.
They were in there with the white rat and they were taking kitchen units and everything in there. And I thought, well, why are they doing it so quickly?
Because it's been refused.
The only part to be, from my own opinion, the only bit that they won't get through is the flat on the ground floor. The rest of it would be fine, but trying to put a flat ground floor in a commercial area is going to be possible.
Anyway, we'll continue to work on that one, but we will need to look into that one further, won't we? Yeah. Thank you for that, because I walk down that street every day and I haven't noticed
And they
anything.
white rat and then put that all in on the kitchen unit and everything.
Right, let's see if we can work through the noise from upstairs. Okay, so I spotted this. Normally, I'm really good at spotting something like this, but I actually found it happened upon this statement from the minister.
I think Mr.
Oh, sorry, I'm so eager to get to this one that I missed out something. Sorry, let's reverse.
Like the coffee shop.
We start dancing in a minute. No.
God's sake.
You through to me.
No, that's more.
Is that no, Nat West? The coffee shop.
HSBC.
Sorry. Right,
We're not sure of the places, but
I have missed out a few items, apologies, councillor. Right, so item 9. So this is exactly what I was referring to when we were just looking at the decision notices, because these are PDH and LDP, because we no longer can have an ultimate say on which class use they are. So let's just go through them individually. P22 S4399 LDP and P22 S4400 PDH. What does that stand for again? Do you know?
household.
Yeah. So, but I mean, this one is quite a simple dormer loft conversion.
You have it quite a lot. Lots of plans like that come in for full planning,
Yes.
where they don't actually need to. They could go
Yeah.
for an abbreviated version. But some just to be 100% sure go, well, I might as well put it in planning rather
Yeah.
than just doing a lot of planning.
And this all happened back in 2019.
Yeah.
And I was thinking even then, when I started on planning, how soon is it going to be before the balance is tipped?
Yeah.
And we are sitting there with like 4 applications to go through and everything else is
Well, maybe-
LDP or PDH.
There's maybe the planning agents or consultants just don't advise to go straight for permitted development, but I guess that helps
Yeah,
us because
yeah.
we still want to say. if
That's the
someone's
only
doing
thing I
square
can think.
footage of Footprint, which they're extending what they're doing, they could
Yeah.
just go for permitted.
I think that's the only thing I can, yes, the only reason I can think is that they're advised against it.
And I think LDP is the same. Because you're not changing, so unlike the other one, which was trying to change from a commercial business use to residential, this is simply bank, it's commercial to commercial, bank to shop, bank to coffee, bank to restaurant, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of bank to coffee,
Well, the first one,
yeah,
we can't
well,
do anything about
no,
it. It would
exactly.
seem on the face of it to be a really.
But again, the next one, we're not going to be able to do anything about either because it's the local development planning application.
I think.
So it's change of use from a bank, which is not even closing until August. Or is there something we don't know? Councillor Hilliard, can you advise us?
I don't know, but what I was going to say, no, we can't do anything about it, but what I do think we ought to say is we are at oversaturation in Henley. We've seen a restaurant, a deli and a coffee shop close, all in that vicinity. That's going to push out or push themselves out of business, another one. And I think that we ought to come to them and say we would welcome more retail in the town. We all know that, and it's a difficult period because people shop online, but it is a worry. But then that's their risk. But
See, I'm not even sure the planning authority can do anything about this.
no, they won't.
Councillor Gavishak.
No, I don't think planning authority can, but we as a town council can make more.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, just
Say that.
we should make a statement that we're losing retail in the town. And
Yeah.
we're gaining coffee shop. The other thing is, we're losing banks in the town. And what the banks should get together, NatWest, Nationwide is rumoured. HSBC, Barclays, Lloyds, that the banks shouldn't be allowed to redevelop their premises unless they provide a banking hub in one of their premises. But the case for all the banks, you can go into the hub and bank with Barclays or NatWest or wherever. And it should be an obligation, and it comes to this levelling up the
Yeah,
conversation. There
Yeah.
should be planning laws to guarantee all towns of a certain size as a bank. Full stop. End
and
of.
have you seen the banking framework level, I think it's level 3 agreement with the post office?
I was reading it at 3 o'clock this morning. No, I haven't. No, not currently on my list of.
And this has been happening for years, this process, okay? The post office and the banks have been colluding for years to make this come about, okay? So the post office now handle money, oh, we're protecting money for the community. Well, have you seen the queues in our local post office?
True.
Yes,
It's
Councillor
been taken
Hilliard.
over, the post office, the new owners were in there today.
There's new
And
owners.
working today, the new owners, and he came into the coffee shop to introduce himself. And he said that they're going to make it so much smarter. He instantly opened the front desk door and he was serving there himself. And he said the lady's very stressed, you know, who's been there because she's been left on her own.
Yeah,
But he said, we're building the staff up, he's got his brother working there as well. And so he said it's all going to be redone. He said it looks very scruffy. He says on the outside and in, and he's going to take care of it.
do you know anything about him or her? Is he local?
He's an Asian gentleman. I don't know where, he said he mentioned that he came from London,
Yeah.
but it was his first day in today.
Isn't that great news? Well, everyone was very, very concerned.
I was very happy because I thought it was closed, well, it was closing and there was no guarantee we would retain the post office. But he was very nice and seemed to be very capable and knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I still think though, given that we'll have no banks left in Henley, we need a banking hub.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, councillor.
Yeah, I mean,
Waste of patience, sorry.
the reality is, with this agenda, we can't make any comments on those 2 points.
Yes, that's
But
true.
the banking hub is absolutely key. And what we should be doing is, the customers of those banks, and I've been called, I'm a NatWest customer, I was called and I've made it very clear that we need a banking hub. And if we can't use the NatWest building, or we can't use the HSBC building, then we should be doing it downstairs in the town hall, because the building downstairs could be used as a banking hub. And people could come in there, and it could be Barclays one day, it could be NatWest the next, it could be Nationwide the next, or whatever. But we've got to have a banking hub, because I'll tell you why, because when HSBC goes, I mean, let's face it, NatWest will go at the end of February. When HSBC goes, it will be very difficult to get cash out for the pubs, and the pubs will have to all go onto cards. And some of them have already gone onto cards.
Yeah.
They're all card transactions. And, you know, I actually think about last time I used some cash was probably about 2 weeks ago, but, and that's not because I'm tired, that's because I'm using a card. And they might all go to cards, they might just be card, but the reality is we need a banking hub. And if HSBC and NatWest can't provide it in their current bodies, then we should get on the case and think about using downstairs as a banking hub.
I think we need to get it on an agenda, councillor Hamilton.
Certainly, I'm up for it. What do you want to put it on, finance or TNC?
I'll speak to the chairs.
There you go.
Okay, but can I just go back to this point that councillor Hillier makes, that we, and councillor Garishat makes, that we need to write to the local authority, and just make it plain that we're losing that balance, that relationship between retail and, service, what would you call it?
Well, we need a strong experience in Henley, which we always used to have. You know, it's not just people coming in for a drink or something to eat. You've got to have reason for them to stay longer in the town.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's essential for our tourists.
So they rely on each other, don't they?
Because we're the jewel in the crown, aren't we? Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I suppose some copy down later.
Okay,
How much tea and coffee you can drink. Really?
Chair, council Plant.
oh, sorry, councillor Plants.
I'd like to say something great for Paul, get on, touch chat with Helen Barnett. I know she tried not particularly successfully to coordinate landlords and to create a list of people that were looking for premises, either locally or not. Maybe that's something that Paul can get his head around. Or certainly discuss with Paul and see if we actually. That's a matter.
Okay, let's turn to item 10 and page 19. So Kath's going to start with this one. Yeah, no, I was telling you the story about where I found it. It was on the it was the network that we have for local plans in Oxfordshire. ONPA, is that right?
Yeah.
That's where I read it. Yeah. Anyway, Kath, over to you.
Well, obviously, I'm not Jodie, but I just read it through and I thought there were some positive things in here. So things about the calculating local housing need figures, that they'd be advisory, not mandatory. That the planning inspectorate should no longer override sensible local decision making. Rebalancing the relationship between local councils and the planning inspectorate. Ending the obligation on local authorities to maintain a rolling 5-year supply of land for housing where their plans are up to date. So that's all really positive. Increasing the community protection supported by a neighbourhood plan against developer appeals, and increasing those protections from 2 years to 5 years. So that'd be really good for us. Allowing local planning authorities to refuse planning applications from developers who built slowly in the past, and making sure that local authorities who commission land are not punished under the housing delivery test when it's developers that aren't building. Also interesting, I thought, was the suggesting a new tourist accommodation registration scheme.
I know, we've started to talk about that in Henley, haven't we?
So the consultation that this refers to is already live and it closes on the 2nd of March. So I was suggesting to Michelle that we maybe put it on the next planning agenda for members to give any opinions.
Yeah.
There are 58 questions. So I was looking at it today. I think that's all I've got to say. Michelle.
I'm a bit confused on this bit about the, where it is about the housing market. It says about these classes order so that it enables places such as Devon and Cornwall and Lakes to control changing use to short-term lets and figures. What does that mean? To allow more short?
No, to refuse it if it comes up.
To prevent it.
Yeah,
That's right, housing.
yeah, and I think that is actually going to, I think that should be extended because there are so many other towns who are going through this. Councillor Hamilton and then Councillor Plant put their hand up. Yes. Councillor Hamilton and Councillor.
I welcome this statement, the Minister and the member for Surrey Heath. I think it's really important that we put brownfield first. I think it's really important we put weight on local plans, and I'm so pleased about this 5-year land supply. It is totally wrong that whenever there's a review, the first 2 days of a legal case are spent with lawyers arguing the toss between whether SODC has a 5-year land supply or not. And it literally is 2 days of every single application which goes for review at that stage. So I'm pleased to see that in place. And yeah, I hope SODC look at it the same way we have, in a positive way, and hope that they keep their house in order, and we keep our house in order, and we make it all happen.
Thank you, councillor Plant.
Second paragraph, page 20. Obviously it talks about plans that are suitably far along, plans that are finished. Our plans now in place, right?
Yeah.
Fine. Just
Yes, councillor Hilliard.
I'm just checking you were aware as well that the sill's been increased to developers. And I believe, and councillor Gathershap might know, that they've closed that loophole for care homes now and they're charging care homes still, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
No, there's a lot of good stuff in
yeah.
here.
Yeah. Saturday, no.
Oh, yes, councillor Rowlands.
Quite a lot of noise coming from our beloved lords, masters, mistresses in that big riverside building on the banks of the Thames. One does wonder, a bit cynical here, are they going to do a U-turn on all of this? I do wonder. Highlight for me is getting rid or trying to stop irresponsible developers. And keeping me about this stuff is, I mean, it's all basic common sense stuff. What does one why on earth happens to them? But I still think there'll be a U-turn.
Okay. Right,
Sorry,
yes,
Chair.
councillor
Yeah,
Gallagher.
a couple of comments. Yeah, great that we're going to debate this in the next meeting. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I mean, however, I would draw your attention to page 19. Community control. I will retain a method of calculating local housing need figures, but consult on changes. I do believe that the plan making process for housing has to start with numbers. Then it carries on to good stuff, but there's a statement there where numbers are going to be preserved within the process, mainly. And of course, in South Oxfordshire, that's been our life. We had to comply with the numbers. There's some really good stuff on here. If implemented, I share Councillor Brown's cynicism that this is a plan for 2 years.
I feel like
Why, golly, I wonder why. Page 20, the build out thing. Ensuring developers build out what they've already got planning for and refusing. Brilliant, right. The other one I put was Brownfield first, page 21. I will consult to see what's, sorry, second paragraph now. I apologize. To support development on small sites, particularly with the aspect of affordable housing, we need to run home social rental housing into this mix as well, into the review. But there's a lot to be welcomed, and I applaud it with a hint of cynicism. Or a lump of, or a huge dollar ball.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is to review the progress report for applications pulled in. Now, you've got an update for us, haven't you, councillor Gabshak?
On what?
Had we not called in at school? I can see it's not on this actual list.
Oh, no, it's not on this list. That's why I was slightly confused.
Okay,
Yeah, sorry, the answer is Gillett School has been called in. There was a site visit on Monday. Councillor Hill and I attended the site visit, and it's up for debate on Wednesday. So Councillor Hill and I can make no further comment.
okay, we'll add it back in as it's been called in, we'll add it back into this
We'll
program.
give a full update when
Anything that
When
you
it
know, sticking
happens.
out? We know that the
So
white.
we speak. Councillor Ireland here as far as I know.
Sorry.
It's councillor Goshen.
Councillor Gapside speaking.
Councillor Law is speaking on behalf of the town.
You back?
No, he's back. No, he's.
It's always on the screen.
Oh, he's going to zoom in.
Last time.
It's going to teams in, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I will speak as.
we have got an update I can see here. The wide veil was turned down by SAGC, so we can put that one through as.
Well, that's been demolished, the whole ground.
Yeah, I'm sure they got permission to demolish it, but they, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The mounts. Yeah. Okay. Right. That is an into meeting. Thank you very much for your contributions.